I want you to consider a question that might sound radical, perhaps even impossible at first. Is it truly possible that a single emotion, something you feel, not something you eat or smoke, could be more dangerous for your heart than a lifetime of cigarette smoking? I know how that sounds. As a physician and scientist for over 4 decades, I've built my entire career on the foundation of rigorous, evidence-based medicine. My work is not about sensational headlines. It's about what we can prove through randomized controlled trials and what gets published in peer-reviewed medical journals. So, a statement that an intangible feeling could be more lethal than one of the most chemically destructive habits known to humankind should absolutely be met with healthy skepticism. And I encourage that skepticism. Let's be perfectly clear about the enemy we already know. Smoking is a physiological catastrophe. There is no debate here. When you inhale cigarette smoke, you introduce a cocktail of over 7,000 chemicals into your bloodstream. These toxins, nicotine, carbon monoxide, and thousands of others, cause immediate and measurable harm. Nicotine constricts your blood vessels and forces your heart to beat faster, increasing your blood pressure. Carbon monoxide robs your blood of oxygen, starving your heart muscle. But the long-term damage is even more insidious. These chemicals cause oxidative stress, a kind of internal rusting that damages the delicate lining of your arteries called the endothelium. A healthy endothelium is smooth, like Teflon, allowing blood to flow freely. Smoking effectively scours this lining, making it rough and sticky, like Velcro. This damage creates chronic inflammation, and it's on this inflamed, sticky surface that cholesterol begins to cling and accumulate, forming the dangerous plaques that lead to atherosclerosis. This is the direct pathway to a heart attack. So when I tell you there is an emotional state that rivals or even exceeds this level of destruction, I want you to understand the gravity of that claim. I am not speaking in metaphors. I am speaking about biological reality. What I'm about to share is not meant to downplay the immense dangers of smoking. It's meant to awaken us to a danger that is just as real, but far more silent. A danger that millions of people are living with right now, even those who eat a perfect diet, exercise regularly, and have never touched a cigarette in their lives. This danger is the chronic emotional state of loneliness, social isolation, and a lack of love and intimacy. This isn't New Age philosophy. This is medical facts supported by decades of scientific research. Landmark studies have followed thousands of people over time, and the results are consistently striking. A study of over 10,000 government workers in Israel found that feeling a lack of love and support was a stronger predictor of developing chest pain and heart attacks than smoking or high cholesterol. Research in a small Pennsylvania town found that the greatest predictor of who would die from heart disease wasn't genetics or diet, but how people answered questions about their sense of connection to others. The data is clear. People who are lonely have higher rates of high blood pressure. They have more inflammation. They have stickier platelets in their blood, which can lead to clots. On a biological level, their bodies are in a constant state of high alert. So how does this happen? How does a feeling in your mind translate into the physical reality of a clogged artery? The answer lies in our evolutionary wiring. For our ancient ancestors, being part of a tribe was critical for survival. To be separated from the group meant you were vulnerable to predators, starvation, and the elements. It was quite literally a death sentence. As a result, our brains evolved to treat social isolation as a serious threat, as dangerous as seeing a predator. When your brain perceives a threat, it activates your fight or flight response, flooding your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones are incredibly useful in a short-term emergency. They give you the energy to fight or flee. But what happens when the threat isn't a predator that disappears after a few minutes, but the chronic, day-in, day-out feeling of being disconnected and alone? The alarm system never turns off. Your body is then subjected to a relentless drip of these stress hormones. This isn't acute panic. It's a grinding, 24-hour state of physiological stress that slowly erodes your health from the inside out. Imagine trying to drive a car with the emergency brake partially engaged at all times of. The engine has to work harder. It overheats, and eventually it breaks down. That is what loneliness does to your cardiovascular system. Your blood pressure stays elevated, putting constant strain on the walls of your arteries. The chronic inflammation makes your blood vessels sticky and prone to plaque. The elevated cortisol tells your body to store dangerous fat around your vital organs, which pumps out even more inflammatory proteins. It's a vicious cycle of disease, all triggered by a lack of something we often dismiss as merely nice to have: connection. To truly understand this, we need to go deeper into how a feeling creates physical reality inside the body. This process begins in the most ancient part of your brain, a region hardwired for one primary purpose: survival. Deep within your brain's temporal lobes is a small, almond-shaped cluster of neurons called the amygdala. Think of it as your body's ever-vigilant smoke detector. Its job is to constantly scan your environment and your internal state for signs of danger. When it senses a threat, it triggers a massive, instantaneous alarm, the fight-or-flight response. This system is a masterpiece of evolution. It saved our ancestors from predators, and it gives you the split-second reflexes to swerve and avoid a car accident today. But here is the critical flaw in this otherwise brilliant system. Your amygdala cannot tell the difference between an acute physical threat and a chronic emotional one. It cannot distinguish between the clear danger of a lion in the bushes and the deep, gnawing anxiety of feeling utterly alone. To your brain's smoke detector, a threat is a threat. When you feel socially isolated or cut off from belonging, your brain interprets this as a survival threat. It's a primal signal that you're separate from the tribe, vulnerable and unprotected. And so the smoke detector goes off. And because chronic loneliness doesn't disappear in a few minutes, the alarm never stops ringing. Your body becomes locked in a permanent low-grade state of stress. This is not a conscious choice. It's an automatic biological reflex. And it's here in this state of constant alarm that the physical destruction of the heart begins. This alarm system communicates through chemical messengers, stress hormones. The two most critical ones are cortisol and adrenaline. Cortisol, often called the stress hormone, mobilizes energy in an emergency. It tells your liver to release glucose into your bloodstream so your muscles have immediate fuel. It also narrows your arteries to increase blood pressure, ensuring fuel-rich blood can be delivered quickly. In a short-term crisis, this is life-saving, but when your body is marinated in cortisol day after day, these survival actions become life-threatening. The constantly elevated blood sugar can lead to insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes, and a major risk factor for heart disease. The persistently high blood pressure strains artery walls, causing microscopic tears and damage over time. Chronic cortisol also signals your body to store visceral fat around your abdominal organs. This isn't just stored energy. It's an active organ that pumps out inflammatory proteins, fanning a constant fire of inflammation throughout your body. Alongside cortisol is adrenaline. This is the hormone of immediate action, the jolt that makes your heart pound. It increases the force and speed of your heart's contractions. Again, this is fantastic if you need to outrun a threat. But when your system is constantly pulsed with adrenaline, it's like revving a car engine into the red line for hours, day after day. The heart muscle becomes overworked and exhausted. This can lead to an enlarged heart, irregular rhythms, and further damage to your arteries from the sheer hydraulic force of the blood being pumped so aggressively. Now we can see the devastating chain of events. The feeling of loneliness is registered as danger. The brain's alarm sounds, releasing a chronic drip of cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones create a hostile internal environment defined by sustained high blood pressure, chronically elevated blood sugar, and systemic inflammation. It is this inflammation that is the central factor in heart disease. We now understand that atherosclerosis is not just a plumbing problem. It's an inflammatory disease. The inflammation created by chronic stress makes the smooth lining of your arteries raw and sticky. Now, cholesterol, which is simply a repair substance, starts to stick to these damaged, inflamed areas in an attempt to patch them up. Over time, this patch grows, hardens with calcium, and becomes the plaque that narrows and ultimately blocks the artery. So you see, the emotion of loneliness doesn't just make you sad. It creates the precise biological conditions, the inflammation, that allows cholesterol to become dangerous. It's a slow-acting process, one that works quietly over years to harden your arteries and damage your heart. That is the case for the problem. That is the science of how isolation translates into physical disease. It is sobering, but it is only half of the story. Because for every biological pathway of destruction, our bodies have a corresponding pathway of healing. Now that we understand the mechanism of the problem, we can turn our attention to the incredible, life-giving biology of its solution: love and connection. I wouldn't be sharing this information if there wasn't a clear, scientifically validated path toward healing. For every biological pathway of destruction we've discussed, your body has a corresponding and equally significant pathway for healing and repair. The key that unlocks this healing potential isn't found in a pharmacy or a high-tech medical procedure. It's found in the simple transformative experience of human connection. Let's return to your nervous system. Earlier, we focused on the fight-or-flight system, the sympathetic nervous system. Think of it as your body's accelerator pedal. The feeling of loneliness keeps that pedal pushed to the floor, flooding your body with stress hormones and revving your internal engine until it breaks down. But your body also has a brake pedal. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system, often nicknamed the rest and digest system. I prefer to call it the heal and repair system. When this system is activated, it does the exact opposite of everything we've just discussed. Your heart rate slows down, your blood pressure drops, your breathing becomes deeper and more regular. The fire of inflammation is dampened. Your digestion works properly, allowing you to absorb healing nutrients from your food. This heal and repair state is nature's off switch for stress. It's the biological condition in which your body actively mends, restores, and regenerates itself. The most effective way to activate this system is to cultivate feelings of safety, trust, and intimacy. When you sit with a friend and share a heartfelt conversation, when you embrace a family member, or even when you connect with a pet, your brain sends a clear message to your entire body. You are safe. You are not alone. You can stand down. In that moment, you are actively turning off the machinery of disease and turning on the machinery of healing. This isn't just a psychological shift. It's a biochemical one. When you experience these moments of warm, authentic connection, your brain and heart release a remarkable hormone called oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is the chemical messenger of love and trust. For decades, we thought its role was limited to social bonding, like that between a mother and child. But recent research has revealed something truly remarkable. Oxytocin is also a cardioprotective hormone. It directly protects your heart. The science is fascinating. First, oxytocin is a natural vasodilator, meaning it helps your blood vessels relax and widen, which directly lowers your blood pressure. It actively counters the vessel-constricting effects of adrenaline. Second, it has significant anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. It directly calms that smoldering fire in your arteries, protecting the delicate lining of your heart and blood vessels from oxidative stress and damage. Most remarkably, groundbreaking studies are now showing that oxytocin can even stimulate the production of stem cells that help to regenerate damaged heart tissue. Think about that for a moment. The very hormone that is generated by feelings of love can help your body physically rebuild your heart. Every authentic moment of connection is, in a very real sense, a dose of regenerative medicine. When you begin to shift your life from a state of isolation to one of connection, you initiate a cascade of healing. The constant flood of cortisol and adrenaline begins to subside. In its place, hormones like oxytocin begin to flow. This changes your entire internal environment. The smoldering fire of inflammation in your arteries is dampened, and the lining becomes smooth and healthy again. The constant damaging pressure on your artery walls eases. Your blood platelets become less sticky, reducing the risk of a clot. You're not just feeling better emotionally, you are creating the biological conditions that allow your body's innate healing mechanisms to work. Our research has shown that when patients embrace this pillar of love and support alongside changes in diet, exercise, and stress management, their bodies can often stop and even reverse the progression of heart disease. We've seen it happen. We've measured it with quantitative arteriography and PET scans. We now have a clear picture of two opposing forces, two biological states that shape your heart's destiny. Loneliness triggers the fight-or-flight response, putting your body in a state of chronic alarm that breaks it down over time. Connection triggers the heal and repair response, putting your body in a state of calm that allows it to rebuild itself. You can think of it this way. Loneliness forces your heart to weather a constant internal storm day after day. Connection not only brings calm, but also sends in a dedicated repair crew to rebuild what was damaged by the storm. Now that we have a clear understanding of these two forces that shape our heart's destiny, the biology of loneliness versus the biology of love, the most important question becomes, how do we do it? How do we intentionally and practically cultivate this medicine of connection in our daily lives? Let's be honest with one another. It's not always easy. We live in a world that is paradoxically more connected and yet more isolating than ever before. We have social media that gives us the illusion of community without genuine intimacy. Our families are often scattered across the country or the globe. Our traditional community spaces, the town squares, the local clubs, the neighborhood gatherings, have in many ways faded. So to say just connect with others can feel dismissive of the real challenges many people face. The strategies I'm about to share are not quick fixes. They are practices. They require intention, courage, and consistency. But they are the very methods that have helped thousands of my patients not only reverse their heart disease, but also transform their lives into ones of greater joy and meaning. Step 1. The courage to be vulnerable. The first and most foundational practice is learning the art of authentic sharing. This is the absolute core of healing through connection, and it is the polar opposite of the superficial small talk that fills most of our days. Small talk is how we transact. We talk about the weather, sports, or headlines. It's a social lubricant, but it offers almost zero emotional nourishment. Authentic sharing, on the other hand, is about expressing your real feelings, your vulnerabilities, and your experiences in a safe and supportive environment. It's about having the courage to take off the mask of "I'm fine" that so many of us learn to wear. The biological effect of this is striking. When you're holding on to a painful or stressful emotion by yourself, your brain's fear center, the amygdala, is firing intensely. But the moment you put that feeling into words and share it with someone who listens with empathy, who doesn't judge you or try to fix you, but simply hears you, something incredible happens. Your brain's fear alarm begins to quiet down. The production of stress hormones decreases. Your nervous system literally calms down in real time. This is the act of co-regulation, and it's one of the most effective forms of stress reduction we have. Your actionable step is to create an intentional space for this. In my program, we use support groups. You can create your own. It could be a pact with your spouse to spend 15 minutes each evening sharing your highs and lows without interruption. It could be a weekly call with a trusted friend. The container is less important than the content. The goal is to create a reliable ritual where vulnerability is welcomed. Step 2. The gift of true listening. To receive the healing medicine of connection, you must also be willing to give it. In our hyper-distracted world, compassionate listening has become a lost art. Most of the time when someone else is talking, we are not truly listening. We're waiting for our turn to speak. We're thinking of a clever reply, a piece of advice, or a related story of our own. Compassionate listening is different. It is the practice of offering someone your full, undivided attention. It means putting your own agenda aside and trying to understand the world from their perspective. The healing benefit flows both ways. When you make someone else feel truly seen and heard, you are giving them a significant gift. But the act of extending compassion also calms your own nervous system. It releases oxytocin in your brain. It shifts you out of a state of self-preoccupation and into a state of connection, which is inherently healing. Helping others is a form of self-care. Your actionable step is simple. Once a day for just 10 minutes, offer this gift to someone. Put your phone face down. Turn off the TV. Make eye contact and just listen. Don't problem solve unless asked. Just be present. You will be surprised at how this simple practice transforms the quality of your relationships and, in turn, the state of your own inner peace. Step 3. Healing through helping. This final strategy is for anyone who feels that their well of connection has run dry, who feels they truly don't have anyone to turn to. When you're in that place, the path back can feel impossibly steep. The most effective first step you can take is often the most counterintuitive. Look for a way to help someone else. The act of service or altruism is one of the most reliable antidotes to the pain of isolation. When you volunteer at an animal shelter, help a neighbor with their groceries, or contribute to a cause that is bigger than yourself, two things happen. First, it shifts your focus. It is difficult to be consumed by your own pain and loneliness when you're actively engaged in alleviating the suffering of another. The psychological shift provides immediate relief. The second, it creates a natural context for connection. And when you join a volunteer group, you are instantly surrounded by people who share at least one of your core values. You have a common purpose, which is fertile ground for authentic friendships to grow. Biologically, acts of generosity and kindness have been shown to boost oxytocin and activate the same pleasure and reward centers in the brain that are stimulated by good food or exercise. It feels good because, from an evolutionary perspective, it is good for our survival. Your actionable step is to start small. Don't commit to changing the world. Just commit to one small act of service this week. It could be anything. Find the local organization you care about and inquire about volunteering. Offer to help a friend or family member without being asked. Even a small act of kindness shifts your brain out of a state of threat and into a state of contribution and connection. These three practices, vulnerable sharing, compassionate listening, and service, are not just soft skills or nice ideas. They are potent medical interventions for your heart. They are just as important as the food you eat and the exercise you do, because they directly influence the biological environment in which your heart either breaks down or rebuilds itself. Now that we have the practical tools for cultivating connection, let me show you how they weave into the very fabric of a healthy life, enhancing every other choice you make. For decades, my research has centered on 4 key areas that work together to promote healing: what you eat, how you move, how you manage stress, and how much you love and are loved. Many people try to focus on just one of these. They'll perfect their diet while ignoring their stress, or they'll exercise relentlessly while feeling deeply isolated. But this approach rarely leads to lasting change because these pillars are not separate. They are a single interconnected system, and the pillar of love and support is the foundation that holds all the others up. Think about how many times you've started a perfect diet only to find yourself reaching for comfort food after a stressful or lonely day. This is not a failure of willpower. It's a matter of biology. The stress hormone cortisol, which is elevated when you're lonely, is designed to make you crave high-fat, high-sugar foods. Trying to diet while you're lonely is like trying to patch a leaking boat in the middle of a storm. You first have to calm the storm. When you feel connected, loved, and supported, your cortisol levels stabilize. Those intense, biologically driven cravings often fade. Eating well is no longer a battle against your own body. It becomes a natural act of self-care. You nourish your body out of self-love, not self-soothing. Sharing a healthy meal with others transforms an act of discipline into an act of community. We all know we should exercise, but the fatigue and lack of motivation that often accompany isolation can make even a short walk feel like an impossible task. Loneliness saps your energy. Connection is a catalyst. Think of the difference between walking on a treadmill alone, staring at a wall, versus walking in a park with a good friend. The physical activity is the same, but the experience is worlds apart. When you move with others, exercise stops being a chore and becomes a source of joy. This creates a beautiful, positive feedback loop. Exercise releases endorphins, and connection releases oxytocin. Together, they create a potent, natural antidepressant effect that reinforces the habit, making it something you look forward to rather than something you dread. In my program, stress management refers to personal practices that quiet your mind, like meditation and yoga. But for many, trying to meditate while feeling acutely lonely is like trying to sleep while a fire alarm is blaring. Your mind is racing with anxious thoughts, making silence feel unbearable. Human connection is what helps you turn off the alarm, so you can finally rest. The feeling of safety you get from your social bonds creates the necessary foundation of inner quiet that allows meditation and other techniques to actually work. Your relationships handle the external sense of threat, which gives you the capacity to finally calm your internal world. We have seen the problem, the solution, the practical steps, and how it all fits together. There is only one thing left to do: put this knowledge into action. I want to leave you with a simple roadmap. I call it the 30-day Heart Healing Challenge. It's not about perfection. It's about practice. For 1 month, I invite you to try these small, consistent experiments and simply notice how you feel. Week 1. The foundation of listening, your only task is to practice 10 minutes of compassionate listening every single day. Offer someone your undivided attention and create a space of safety. Week 2. The courage to share once this week. Initiate one authentic conversation. Share a real feeling, big or small, with someone you trust. Week 3. The act of service. Perform one small act of kindness or service for someone else without expecting anything in return. Notice the warmth it generates inside you. Week 4. The joy of community. Take one small step to expand your circle. Attend that class, visit that community center, reach out to an old friend, or simply go to a park and be around other people. The human heart is not just a mechanical pump. It is an organ of emotion. It breaks not only from plaque, but from pain. It weakens not only from disease, but from disconnection. And it heals not only with medicine, but with love. Your diet is critical. Your exercise is vital. Your stress management is essential. But please never again neglect the most important pillar of your health, the quality of your connections with others. The greatest tragedy of heart disease is not that it's the leading cause of death. The greatest tragedy is that so much of it is preventable and reversible, and that one of the most effective tools for this healing is something we all have the capacity to both give and receive. So I'm leaving you with this. Don't just make your health about what you eat or how you move. Make it about how you love. Make it about having the courage to be vulnerable, the compassion to listen, and the grace to serve. Because a heart that is filled with connection is a heart that is protected. It is a heart that is resilient. It is a heart that is whole. Your healing is in your hands and in the hands of the people you choose to hold. Thank you. Now go and start the challenge. Call that friend. Embrace your partner. Tell someone what you truly feel. Your heart is waiting.